I'm so pleased to be here to talk about Robert Seyfarth. He is a very distinguished architect. He was a contemporary of Howard Van Doren Shaw and David Adler, one of the foremost architects in the Chicago area. And he was very prolific, having designed numerous houses on the North Shore and in Chicago. Seyfarth was not an architect for Chicago's elite population. Rather, he designed homes for Chicago's merchants and businessmen, houses that are as distinguished in character as much larger ones located throughout Lake Forest, designed by Adler and Shaw. Robert Seyfarth was born in 1878 in Blue Island. His father was a hardware store owner, a prominent businessman in the community. He attended Chicago's manual training school, which was later absorbed into the University of Chicago. It was unusual in that drafting and construction were taught, as well as general studies. He graduated in 1895, then went to work for Arthur Fiedler, an architect who was with the Chicago Board of Education. And then in 1898, Seyfarth went to work for George Mayer, very likely because Mayer designed a house for one of his father's friends. When he was working for Mayer, Mayer was involved in designing buildings for Northwestern University. Seyfarth helped supervise construction for several homes that Mayer was designing. That probably enticed him to live in Highland Park. He started work for Mayer in 1898, and then in 1909 he opened his own office in Chicago. His early work was very much influenced by his relationship with George Mayer, and those houses were prairie in inspiration. His later homes were based on more traditional models. The bulk of his clients were successful businessmen who moved to the suburbs to the North Shore, and he designed homes for them that, although traditional in inspiration, were uniquely his own.
Robert Seyfarth's Highland Park clients included successful business owners, corporate officers, doctors, and lawyers. They were often prominent in community and civic affairs. They held club memberships and supported local charities. His clients included Alexander Stewart, the original owner of this house, built in 1913 at 1442 Forest. In 1910, Seyfarth designed the house at 2130 Linden Avenue for George McBride. Mr. McBride was the treasurer and manager for the Chicago branch of Boston custom tailor Cumner Jones and Company. The Clarence Thayer House at 325 Orchard was constructed in 1910. Mr. Thayer was president of C.H. Thayer and Company and a member of the Chicago Board of Trade. Another Board of Trade man was John Bunnell, the first president of the Highland Park Trust and Savings Bank. The house at 2244 Sheridan Road was designed for Martin Insel, one of Seyfarth's wealthiest clients. With his brother Samuel, Martin headed a $3.5 billion utility empire. Mrs. Insel held title to the property, which she sold in April 1933. A Chicago Tribune article announcing the sale gave a detailed description of the property as follows. The house is of colonial design, of frame construction with shingled sides. It has 3 master bedrooms and 3 baths, 3 maids' rooms, a living room, dining room, and service rooms. There are 3 fireplaces. In addition to the main residence, there is a guest house designed along the same architectural lines. This colonial cottage has 5 rooms, 2 bedrooms, a bath, a living room, kitchen, and dining room. The landscape was designed by Jens Jensen.
Seyfarth's work and Jensen's work complement each other beautifully.
Seyfarth designed the house and Jens Jensen the landscape at 2219 Egondale for Henry Adamson, treasurer and director for Bowman Dairy, one of the leading suppliers of dairy products in the Chicago area. The 4 small colonial houses at 1955, 1963, 1971, and 1981 Linden, known as Marshmallow Row, were built in 1912 as rental properties for Eugene Bornick, real estate agent. Seyfarth's son Hugh said about the houses, quote, "My recollections are that Eugene Bornick built them for rental income. Originally, the 4 houses were connected by lattice trellises along the front. Each entrance through a vine-covered arbor created a courtyard between each house. All of the houses were white with working shutters painted dark green. All had wood shingle roofs," unquote. Mr. Bornick lived with his wife Stella and 3 children on Central Avenue near Linden. Another real estate man and Seyfarth client was Raymond Herman, who constructed his house at 2160 Linden Avenue. His obituary referred to Mr. Herman as an historical figure in Chicago real estate annals. Dr. Kellogg Speed, a surgeon specialized in orthopedic surgery, was the original owner of 1502 Sheridan Road, built around 1923. He was a member of the surgical faculty for Northwestern University Medical School and an author of medical textbooks. Seyfarth designed the lakefront house and Jens Jensen the landscape for attorney Samuel Holmes at 2693 Sheridan Road. In 1939, Illinois Governor Henry Horner, still recovering from a heart attack he had suffered the preceding fall, used the residence of Samuel Holmes as a retreat while he convalesced. An article in the Chicago Tribune noted that the residence was well secluded with trees and flowers covering the surrounding 2 acres. The article also noted that the house, of English architecture, was located on a bluff about 75 feet above the lake and with lake frontage of 270 feet. It had been built 12 years earlier at a cost of about $40,000. It had 6 bedrooms and 4 baths and was 3 stories high.
His houses were very handsome, very simple, based on historical precedent. They may be colonial revival, but they were unlike any colonial houses anyone had ever designed before him. He elaborated particularly on the front entrances, which were very often stunning derivations from classical architecture. Seyfarth applied classical principles of order and symmetry and classical detailing at the same time as he created gracious human-scale houses. So when you're inside a Seyfarth house, you're comfortable. Seyfarth was never pedantic. His architecture is never imposing, never overwhelming. Seyfarth was a very prolific architect. And we are so fortunate that he left a legacy of beautiful houses. My latest count is that he designed probably over 70 houses in Highland Park and an equal number in other North Shore communities. His homes form the fabric of North Shore towns. When you see a Seyfarth house, how do you recognize it? Well, his homes are flooded with light, and these are provided on the upper floors by inset dormers. That is a characteristic unique to Seyfarth's work. His homes also have floor-to-ceiling windows across the front, very frequently. Some of his houses have a long, low profile, the horizontality that we associate with Prairie School architects. George Mayer's work was frequently published in House Beautiful, Western Architect, Better Homes and Gardens. That exposed people throughout the country to the beauty of his architecture. Architects today can learn a great deal from the work of Robert Seyfarth. A sense of scale, a sense of proportion, a continuity of design. There is nothing extraneous in a Robert Seyfarth design. Robert Seyfarth houses are very special. They need to be treasured, they need to be taken care of, and we should be proud that there are so many of them in Highland Park.